Hello and welcome to the Critically Clueless. Today we are in Disciples Liberation and we are talking about all things witch or Dusk Witch related. I've had a few people comment either on my channel, in my Discord, or just message me personally and ask me how it is I build Aviana and what do I think the best way to do so is. So this video is all about that. I'm going to go over how I would build the character and the reasons why. But before we get into the video, I just wanted to say that we currently have 93% of all viewers not subscribed to the channel. So if you enjoyed this video and want to see more Disciples Liberation content, why don't you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out so much. So anyway, when it comes to picking the witch class, what do we get? Well, the first ability we get deals unholy damage and inflicts bleeding and afraid to the target. And once you're fully leveled, this thing actually hits pretty good as well. The second ability we have is Heaven's Light. Now this deals divine damage and inflicts weakened to targets, and it's an area of effect. So you pick the hexagon grid that you want to attack, and anyone around that immediate hexagon grid will get hit. And picking this class also gives us a passive ability as well. It's something overlooked. I never really notice it actually when I'm playing my game. And apart from when you're actually picking your class, there's no real way to actually see what passive effect you actually have. But you get overwhelming presence, and it grants divine might and unholy might to allies within 2 tiles of Aviana. So any allies you've got around your character, you effectively boost them up if they're using divine abilities or unholy abilities. Anyone close to her also gets demoralized as well, which is a -1 to morale. Out of all the classes in the game, the Witch is actually my favorite. I love just the fact that you get so many little extra bits, like for instance you inflict Weaken, which is a -15 to power of all resistances, or of course you can inflict Bleeding and Afraid as well. I like these little things that just add to Aviana's power and presence on the battlefield. So I am doing this at around level 54, so you can see exactly where I'm in a game. I'm going to start, of course, from ground up, and this is generally how I build my character, going from level 1 all the way up through to level 50. Now there's 2 main paths you can look at here. You've got the Nephilim side and the magic side. Both are very important, both giving you different things. On the Nephilim side, the one that's I kind of like to aim for first when I play Aviana as a Dusk Witch is the Twilight Pulse. At the end of each of Aviana's turns, she sends a wave of Twilight energy around her, healing allies and damaging enemies. Now I will show you guys that a little bit later in the video. And at the end of the magic one, the ability you want to look for is the Twin Caster, which is the ability to cast 2 spells at the beginning of the battle, which is so helpful. It really is good. However, I feel that beginning stage of the game, mid stage of the game, perhaps you don't necessarily have the huge damage dealing spells that you have later on. So for me, I prioritize the Twilight Pulse just because the pulse itself is very powerful. It does good heals and it can do like up to 1,000+ damage. So I kind of prioritize getting the Twilight Pulse early game over, you know, as you can get that, like say level 30 if you, or 31 if you go straight Nephilim, as opposed to the twin spells. Because although the twin spells could be very useful with maybe the resurrect and then an attacking spell, I just lean towards Twilight Pulse because it's more manageable. And you do have the second ability anyway, so even if you was able or do get to the stage where you're able to attack twice, you have still got your second ability, which is an area of effect ability. Therefore you don't necessarily need to be able to use 2 spells at once because she does have a very good second attack. So as we start to level, first of all, I would put 1 point in teleport. That's the first one I'd always get, but we'll talk about that a bit later. And then in the Nephilim side, I would put 2 into Twilight Might. Now, if you put 2 into Twilight Might, you get a 10% power boost, dealing divine and unholy damage. That suits Aviana absolutely great because they are her 2 main damage outputs. Then after that, I would put 2 points into teamwork. Now, teamwork can be incredibly useful. You get a 10% bonus to power and resistances when you're standing next to at least one other team member. Now, that works for Aviana and members within your army as well. And when you are standing next to each other, you will see flash up teamwork, letting you know that it has, it's worked and you are getting that 10% power increase. The next important one after that is Twilight Initiate. It basically allows you access to Twilight spells up to level 2, so that's quite important. After that, we are just putting points in to kind of unlock the next tier. Now, me personally, I put 1 point into each faction because I don't normally deal with one faction. However, if you do have a faction of units that you like to lean towards during your playthroughs, I would suggest putting all 4 points into whichever faction it is you want to be powered up. So after getting Twilight Master, I would start working on Lucky, which basically boosts up your critical attack. You can get this boosted up to 10%. Next up, we are looking to unlock Godly Presence. We need 20 points within our Nephilim tree in order to get that. Now, what that does is it will grant Aviana evasive at all times, and if she actually gets hit by an enemy, she inflicts a afraid upon them. Also, once we get that 20th point in, it will unlock these little abilities at the top. And the first one I would probably get is Twilight Legend, allowing us now to access the top tier spells belonging to Twilight. And the order in which you get these next few points is really up to you. Basically, we need to spend another 10 points in this tree. Anyway, Between Two Worlds is a very good one. It grants Aviana Incorporeal in battle, which means that physical attackers have a 30% less likelihood of actually landing an attack. A really good one would be Commander's Presence. This is passive abilities of Aviana now affect all allies on the battlefield. So for instance, Incorporeal or Evasive, these things are now given to all of your troops. So it's a really good one, really massively boosts up your army. And once you finally spend those last few points, you will finally unlock the Twilight Pulse. Like I said, it's very, very overpowered. I quite like it, and I just prefer it over the Twin Caster. However, the Twin Cast is something that we want to be working towards within the Magic Tree with the rest of the points as we level up through the game. Now, like I said earlier, you should already have Teleport. That is an ability which has an extreme amount of use within your game, basically meaning you teleport on the battlefield, meaning you don't have to worry about where you're going to be walking, what you're going to be walking on. You can get to basically anybody. Now, the bottom 2 abilities that you can get next to teleport are quite good, because when you cast an attacking spell, attacking Twilight spell, she will gain strong for 3 rounds, which is a boost up in her power. And if she casts a defensive, she will gain resilience. Me personally, I never use defensive spells, so that's kind of optional, but that's one to look at if you guys do use them. But of course, you're going to be wanting to put a point into Unholy Initiate, Primal Initiate, and Divine Initiate, just to enable you to use those immediate spells, and then of course rank them up to rank 3 as well, because they're very, very good. There's some very good spells within this game to pick up. And at the end of the day, you want to be spending those 20 points. Once you unlock Arcane Overflow, you will unlock the top tier abilities, and then you can focus on which spells it is that you actually want to use. Or of course, just unlock them as you get a top tier spell, because especially some of them, you can get them really late in a game. There's not very many you can get early on. Personally, if you're looking to waste points within the magic tree, one to actually pump points into would be the spell snipe, which boosts up the power of a single attacking spell. So if you've got a spell that targets only one character, this will boost up the power for that, and it can get boosted up to 25% extra power. But once you do get that 20th point into the magic tree, you will get Arcane Overflow, which means if anyone actually lands a critical attack on you, you will attack them back using Holy Light and inflict divine and unholy damage on that target. It also inflicts confusion for 3 rounds as well. So if anyone does manage to land a crit on you, you really do hit them back, and it could be quite good in the battle. But out of the new lovely points we get to put in, the one that I like to focus on the most is bursting magic, and that will pump up the damage for area of effect spells. And it's 2% for every point you actually put in, so you can boost it up another 10%. Personally, I think it's very well worth doing so because you can get some extremely good spells late on in the game, and having them boosted is just a nice touch. And that is it. That is how I generally build Aviana, from Witch to Dusk Witch, going up. And the abilities that I pick, I find this build really works very, very well. I'm able to do an extreme amount of damage. Later on in the game, once I get the overpowered spells, she can pretty much handle any battle on her own. She's so powerful. But with this build, early game, mid-game, I do find her still quite overpowered and able to handle her own pretty nicely as well. As you can see, generally I just rush into battle with her, making sure that I am next to an opponent really helps out too. I get to use a spell, her second ability, and then of course I've got the Twilight Pulse to injure people as well. Of course, the more people that I'm around, the more beneficial that Twilight Pulse actually is. I also like to use crystals to boost Aviana as well. My favorite crystal when using Aviana is the Sovereign Shard of Sorrow, which will boost unholy damage another 25%. So I like using a lot of unholy damage dealing spells. However, this will also boost up her main ability as well, which, if you remember, actually deals unholy damage. But yeah, that is it from me, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see anything else or have any comments, let me know down in the comments what you think. And maybe you build your character a little bit differently. So again, let me know how you build your Aviana character, your witch character. And maybe I can have a play about and see if your build is a little bit stronger than mine. But as ever, thank you very much for watching, guys, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not currently already subscribed, and I will see you in the next video very soon.
Stand down.